Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show. Autumn is here. My name is Francine Crawford. Today, episode 12, we're going to do a part 2 with Simin Farkhondeh because we had such nice conversations and stories about our parents with dementia and Alzheimer's. Also, we give you insight into our experience when we had to look for a nursing home. And that's information that will be helpful to someone who's thinking about that. And it can give you some insight and have some helpful tips and questions that you can ask. Okay, now we're going to welcome Simin one more time.
Long story short, now that she's been at the home for a year and a half, almost, I've been hiring folks to go see her 3 times a week. Because I just see that the women that work, the nurses, have too much on their plate. They can't. Right. They have 10 people taking care of 10 people. So I hired people to go and spend 4 hours 3 times a week. And then I go also 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, whatever. And so that way, my mom has a little bit more stimulation.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, like things like that. How do we make it work? Because like you're by yourself. I mean, you're married and you have a husband and you have your children, but your relationship with your mom, it's you have the most investment. You're going to be the one where most of the responsibility is going to fall on, Right. So that's why it's tough when you're by yourself. Okay. Because even if you have, like I have my cousins and I had my kids, but they don't have the same investment in that time. You know what I mean? To do that or the way they would deal with her. They'd see if she's okay, but they won't look out for other things and get more deeply involved and stuff like that. So it's great when you have a community around you and you have a support system around you and things like that. And I'm glad that you were able to have some people and then hire some people and things like that. So that's great. I didn't have that luxury, but you're right that I don't believe, and I haven't seen it, and I'm not, the expert in it, but I don't believe that a nursing home can possibly take care of them with everything that's needed. They can do as best that they can, but they can't take full care of them. I don't know where they do that or how that can be changed or fixed, but I believe it's impossible because they have, not only do they have different needs, but sometimes their needs change. Sometimes they're lively and alert and whatever, and the next time they're docile, they won't eat, they won't, so their needs change. So I don't know how to fix that, but it's like, as far as the staff and things like that, I guess they do the best that they can, but, that's why you have to try to have alternatives. You have to try to have alternatives. So it's great that you were able to get somebody to go there. I remember one time when my friend, I didn't notice she went, and I went and I saw my mom and her nails were painted and whatever, and it was okay. It was nice. And I was like, oh, they did your nails, because sometimes they would do their hair and stuff like that. And then that next week, my friend said, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, I went by your mom and I painted her nails. I was like, oh, you did that. She didn't even tell me. She just went. And that was really nice. That always stuck with me that, people just went. And, the lady around here would just go and braid her hair. My mother used to get her hair braided from this lady. And I didn't know that she goes up there and she would braid her hair. I thought it was the nursing home, but it was the lady that was my neighbor. And she would go, and I didn't know. So it's good to have a community around you. So, let's kind of talk about the beginning when you notice that she was diagnosed. I'm not sure, but how did it come about? How did it come about?
Yeah, well, my mom was living alone, and I lived here in America. She was in Germany. And it was very hard for me to see what's going on. And then I noticed that every time I went, her house was full of these letters that were asking for money. like, oh, send us money and you will win a car, or send us money and you will, astrology will be like astrology or numerology there was so many letters. I counted 200 at one point. She was quite lonely. And I noticed that dementia, there are many reasons for dementia, but loneliness and not speaking to people, not having interaction, stimulation is really a biggie. And my mom, she went through 2 wars. She has a long history. It was very hard for her to come back from Iran to Germany and then the United States because, Germany is not so easy to meet people. And in Iran, she had a real friendship circle. She was there for 20 years as a young woman. She went there with my dad. And then there was the Iraq war. So everything fell apart. Everybody left who could leave. People died. And eventually she couldn't stand the bumps anymore. And so she went to Germany, but it was really, really hard. And she was very lonely. So anyway, she started writing these letters, sending money, this and that. And it was massive. And I would go there and I would try to get the letters from her. She said, no, I'm paying them. They're my friends, this and that. And I just, by force, I tried to get the post office to not send them, but they wouldn't because, she had initiated or they initiated, but she had answered. Anyway,
she participated in it. Right. She participated in it. So
yes, and sometimes even sent money. I really don't know how much. And there was it was intense. So I threw them all away. Every week I would go specifically to get rid of the letters and write back saying unsubscribe. And I realized that something's going on. And then I took her to the doctor. She has health insurance, but she wouldn't go. So I took her to the doctor and they did a test and she was borderline. This is like, she was like, 75, maybe something like that. And, she would always come visit me in the United States and then go back to Germany and be alone. It was really hard. And so that's how it all started. And then I realized that, oh my God, she can't, So I started hiring someone in Germany for her, but it was very hard. I'm here, she's there, I didn't know what was going on. And, I don't have any siblings. And everybody was not like my family there. My uncles and aunts don't all live near there. Anyway, so it was very hard. But I got some people to bring her food, to look in on her. I got involved with a social worker in her district there. So all that worked for a bit, but I realized that, and I would call and make doctor's appointments, and she would say, "Oh yeah, I went, everything's fine." And then it dawned on me, wait, I should call the doctor. So I called the doctor. They're like, "We don't know anybody." They didn't come. So I was like, oh my God, it's not working. So then, and the last time she went back and came back, she would always come stay with us for a month, 2 months, 3 months. It kept getting longer each year. Eventually it was, she'd been here 8 months and she'd been living here for a few years with my family. And it was really hard. But then when she was 80, on her 80th birthday, we're going up the stairs. I live on a 6th floor walk up, and my mom did the walk. She did the stairs.
Okay.
99 stairs. She did it. But and she was very impatient. Like she'd be, "Oh, you guys are walking fast. I'm walking fast." So on the 4th floor, she collapsed, literally collapsed. And my partner took her pulse. I'm like, "Mom, get up. Eric, help her get up." He took her pulse. There's no pulse, nothing, no breathing, nothing. And he's like, "Well, there is no pulse. There's no heartbeat." So I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And what happens? And then he started doing CPR. And this other neighbor who actually happened to be an EMS started doing CPR. And they said, just call 911. So I called 911 and they came fairly fast. But she had about 5 to 8 minutes of no oxygen to her brain.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she went to the hospital. Everything happened pretty fast. But she had a cardiac arrest and she went to the hospital and she was in the ICU for 5 weeks, long time. Wow. And it was intense because all these doctors, everybody came to see who was this 80-year-old who actually survived the cardiac arrest, because apparently 1 in 10 survived it. Anyway, right. But after slowly she woke up, she started speaking again, this and that. I realized that she's not
the same.
She's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I should say that before the cardiac arrest, for about 2 years, she lived with me nonstop, and she had dementia, but she knew how to get home. She knew everything, only she would forget things, and I got Fumi, that lady, to come. I got the insurance to give me some hours because I needed someone to do some things while I was at work. And so I had people that would take her to the senior center to get involved, to get some art, to have something going on. And she would come home on her own. And this was just a few hours a day. And she would come home, she would eat there, come home on her own. But then after the cardiac arrest, I mean, it was not the same,
She didn't, she wasn't, she was different and she wasn't that motivated. So they feel different. I mean, we don't understand what they're going through, but they feel different. I remember my mom saying that to me, and I was like, I didn't know nothing about Alzheimer's. We didn't know that, but she's like, I don't know. I keep forgetting, and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I just forget. And I said, well, you're getting older. You're going to forget. It's normal. She said, no, this is different. But I didn't know to look into that. I didn't know. It just didn't trigger me at all. I didn't know. And it was a slow process for my mom, because in hindsight, when you think about it, she had it for years, because there was a time when she would go places and she would just leave. And then it would be like, I would always say, Miss Crawford just does what she wants to do. Like, you'll be waiting for her and she just goes. And I'm like, that's just how she is. She just goes where she wants to go. And one time we were at a graduation, and we were it was a Marriott hotel, so it was huge, but they only had like one seat. So I let her sit there, and we were directly behind her in the back, but directly behind her. And she was sitting, and I said, stay here. When it's over, we'll come get you. And when it was over, she was not there. She left. I don't know when she left, but now we are in panic looking for her. Don't know where she's at. And it's like 3,000 people. So we had to wait till they clear everybody out. We went to security, went back and forth. We were looking all over for her, whatever. Of course she would stand somewhere and stay somewhere. You figured that. Not my mom. She went wherever she went. And I had a recital to take one of my other children to. So I called a friend and said, take him to the recital. And because we were at my child's graduation, one of the other ones is graduation. So it was just chaotic. And I kept calling home, like, did you see her? Did you see her? No. And so we went, and I got home and went to the recital. And by the time I got back, I came home, and she just was like, walking like normal, like nothing. I was like, where you go? She said, what do you mean? I said, where did you go? We were at the graduation. Where you go? She said, I got bored. She would always say that. She was like, I got bored.
Well, they're very good at hiding it. Very good at hiding it. They get mad if you say, oh, look, this is happening. They get mad, or they hide it.
They love their independence. They've been independent all this time. My mother used to come and go.
No, that's true.
So
Absolutely.
Now they're not gonna just say, oh, I'm in need or whatever. They're just not gonna do that. And I understand that, because I probably wouldn't do that. Realistically.
No, it's true. It's true. But my mom also got lost. I mean, I remember one morning, it was Christmas Day, actually. It was a cold day. And I woke up at 8 and my mom isn't here. I'm like, oh my God, where is she? And I figured she must have left. So I went outside. Nobody was on the street. It was cold. Nobody on the street. I'm looking everywhere. My phone was dead. I didn't, so the police had called me because some good Samaritan had taken her to the police station, but my phone was dead. So I went home. I was like, oh, I got to, charge my phone. I charged my phone and I went all around. And then I got the message that she's in the local police station. She had gone with her nightgown and like house shoes.
Oh my goodness.
Slippers. And they had put blankets on her, and the EMS were there, and they were giving her hot coffee and stuff. And it was, she was an entertainer. One of the EMS was like French, or he spoke French. So they spoke French together, and she's just sitting there, all these.
She's having a good time.
I'm like, oh my God. But this happened a few times. We changed the lock, we put a special thing on the door, but sometimes she would open it, sometimes not. But I remember one time she got lost for 5 hours. Everybody was looking for her. The police, everybody I knew, I'd called. Everyone was looking for her for 5 hours. And she had a bracelet. This is so important. She had a bracelet with her name. And then it said, dementia, please call me, my number. And she somehow from 7th Street ended up on 34th Street at the East River and was about to board the ferry to Wall Street. And she was saying, I want to go to Wall Street to my apartment there. And this woman was the ferry conductor, whatever she saw. And she's like, oh, what a beautiful bracelet you have. Can I see? And so she saw and she called me. And
wow. Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. The stories, it's amazing, like all the different stories. And, and it puts you through something also. It's not just them, and then if you're not sure of what it is, it's, the decisions that you make are based on, the limited amount of information you have. I remember my mom she used to, one of the last things she did, she would walk back and forth. And she didn't know day from night. It got to a point where she didn't really understand day from night. So I would be asleep. And at first I didn't pay much attention to it. And I'd go to sleep and I would hear this noise and I would pay no attention to it. Houses are close, maybe it's somebody next door. And then it would happen every night. And then I realized it's my door. And I'm like, I'm on the second floor. She's on the first floor, right by the door. And she was getting up, leaving her room, going out to the hall, opening the outside door, checking the mailbox, and coming back and sitting down. Oh. And I sat at the top of the stairs and just watched and see. And it was maybe a minute where she got back up, went back to the mailbox, opened the door, checked the mailbox, locked the door, came back, sat down, waited for a few seconds, got back up. She was doing that all night. She did that so much that she lost like 40 pounds. Like that's all she did at night. But it was only at night. She thought it was day. So to get mail, and people were saying, well, you need to lock her in. And, for me, that I couldn't wrap my head around that, locking her in. I just couldn't do that.
No, you can't. That's illegal anyway.
I was so scared. I thought it was dangerous. Like I can't lock her in. So, and so you don't know what to do because I couldn't sleep anymore. Like I would be up all night and I have to go to work and I would be up all night because it's like opening the door, closing the door, open the door, closing the door constantly.
How long did How long did that go on?
Oh my God.
Because I had the same thing. How long did it go on?
That went on, for you? I would say that had to go on for like at least a month, a little bit more, at least, maybe even more. Because I would sit and talk to her, like I would get up and I go to her room and explain that you already got the mail or, it's nighttime. And I would, just keep having to explain that to her. And that's what really, it was just too much because she kept doing it. And I knew that, okay, I can't watch in a day because I'm not here. I can't watch at night because I have to sleep and she's up. Yeah. So that's when I was like,
isn't that called moonlighting or something like that?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, okay.
There's a name for it because it's the same thing happened for me as well, is that when my mom came back after, 5 weeks of ICU. Then she had rehab and this and that. Finally, when she came home, because she was leaving like she did that morning, I had her sleep next to me, which it really impacted my whole family, I have to say, because having mom sleep next to me, and then, she would get up at night. So then my sleep was very light because I was afraid that she would go wake up my child. And she did. She would get up and she would say, let's go wake up Ana Luisa. Let's go see what's happening with her. And I'd be like, no. And my mom was strong. I'd be like trying to stop her to leave the room. It was insane. And
you don't want to make them angry. You try not to make them angry, because that's worse. When they get angry, it's really bad. And my mother wasn't that type of person. Like, she wasn't really angry person, but there were times where she would just get angry because she gets frustrated that you're telling her no, and she can't have it and stuff like that. So it's really a lot. It's really a lot. And people don't, it's not, everybody goes through it differently, so you can't just say this is going to happen and that's going to happen next and that's going to happen next. And that, you have no idea what's going to happen. Sometimes they're quiet and sometimes they're lively. Sometimes they're emotional and crying.
And, they are very frustrated. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I did was I had a little iPad and I would just turn it on and I would try to sleep, but she could then watch TV, and at least that kept her going. Staying in the room.
What really, I think that was it, taking her to the nursing home, like deciding that that's what I was going to do. That was the hardest thing ever. And then when I did it, I thought, because she always wanted to go, I want to go around the people my age. I want to go around people our age. I don't want to be around young people. So, okay. So I said, well, she'll go. She wasn't sick. Like, she had Alzheimer's, but that's pretty much all she had. So actually, nursing homes were not going to take her and I didn't know why the wait was so long. Like, it wasn't a wait when you call them, put an application, but then a month go by, 2 months. And it's like, I thought y'all said 30 days. So I would have to keep calling. And finally, one of them said, listen, your mom, she doesn't have any real illnesses except for Alzheimer's. Like, she doesn't have a lot of medication. She doesn't, she can wash herself up. She can. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So you take people based on that? Like, I didn't know. That's why I was waiting so long, months and months. So finally I went and I actually looked up a place that was close. I wanted somewhere close that I can get to. And I looked up their board and who owns it and all that stuff. And I wrote emails to the president and things like that and said, I don't understand why I'm waiting for months when this is a community place. She lives in a community. She should have some place where she's comfortable at in her environment, that kind of thing. I had a whole different idea of nursing homes, though. So I fought for that one. And finally, they were like, okay, after I wrote the letter and stuff like that, in a week, I got a call, and they had already had a paperwork. So they were like, oh, they didn't know what happened, whatever. But, they finally allowed her to come in there.
My experience was a little bit different. I mean, first of all, I was trying to get her into a home in Germany. And I remember we went to visit together now, mind you, I remember that. We went and visited, I put her name down in many places and they all said, oh yeah, you'll get a spot. And I never heard back. And I kept calling, never heard back. And I kept saying, well, what happened to the application? And then they said, oh, well, you have to call every week. And I was like, well, what do you mean I have to call every week? And they said, well, there's no real list. I said, well, isn't her name on a list? They said, no, there's no real list because you don't ever know who is coming and who is going. And so because of that, and I found that to be true here too, that they said, if you really want a spot, you really got to call and be ready every day. And because people die, they don't know when. At the same time, people are coming from hospitals, that need rehab. So all these things are happening together. And so from what I understood, you really, like you did, you got to be on the ball and then you get lucky. And that's, I think, how it happened. In Germany, I couldn't do it because I lived here and I couldn't call every week. And besides, they told me, look, if you're in America, you call every week, that doesn't mean anything because if tomorrow we say, come, you have to come.
Right.
You're going to come,
Right.
So I was like, forget it. It's not going to work.
Right.
Plus, I won't be there. So I decided not to. But, here too, I found that you had to call and like
keep on it. Right.
On it. And then in terms of walking, as I was saying, my mom went in and she could walk up 6 flights of stairs, 99 stairs and down. But immediately when she went there, they let her walk, but I noticed that they didn't want people to walk because they're afraid that they're going to fall. So they don't want that on them. So I noticed that they don't want them to walk.
Wow.
And so it was just like, that was something that I do feel guilty about, because I feel like because she walked so little, her walking became more strained and more unsure. And sure enough, she fell and broke her hip eventually, My mom's lucky, she is lucky. I mean, you have to understand, she's like in the most diverse home in Brooklyn. There's Chinese people, there's Latinas, there's Black people, there's Russian people, there's like everyone. Oh, there's lots of Haitian people that work there. So all these languages are there.
Right.
And she likes that. So the Haitian workers are talking French to her. Well, she sometimes speaks English, sometimes German. You have to remind her, So, it's interesting. It's good, There's a lady there that's from Barbados who's 101 years old.
Oh my God.
I mean, she has dementia, but she's really sweet, and she hangs out with my mom. They're next to each other. There was a Chinese lady who nobody understands her dialect, but she comes and we hug her, So it's like a little community.
Yeah. So thank you, Simin, for talking to us. Thank you for being on Autumn is Here. And I really appreciate it. This is a pleasure.